Good luck giving somebody $1 million to perform a job that they've never done before.
Never gave a best YouTuber in the world.
Now let's get into this Akademiks and Meek Mill beef, the beef that keeps on giving. Well, actually, Meek did say that he blocked Akademiks and the beef was over. So we gonna see how long Meek can keep Akademiks blocked. But for right now, I want to talk about this offer that Akademiks sent to Meek Mill, because Meek said he wanted to start a podcast. Now, Ak offered him $1 million up front for you for 52 episodes, 1 a week. We own the video and the audio with the option to renew for a second year. Also, we bust down the ads, 50% on any ads we bring in, Prize Picks, Fashion Nova, etc. Now, Ak was offering him a real deal. He said, you can own the podcast, but we share the IP as long as you in the deal. All right? Now, Joe Budden spoke about this podcast deal, and let's see what he had to say.
Ak offered him $1 million, 1-year deal, once a week, 52 episodes, 50-50 ad split. I pay for the production. Mm-hmm. You just do it. Not the worst deal. Not the worst deal.
Not a bad deal if you meet.
Not a bad deal if you're anybody.
I saw a lot of people who had podcasts. I was like, yo, I'll take that deal. Like
That's a good deal. That's not a bad deal for anybody. I don't know that Meek is about to do a podcast like Vlad said. Vlad responded and said, good luck. Good luck giving somebody $1 million to perform a job that they've never done before.
True.
And he mentioned
Spotify did.
Yeah. He mentioned Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify gave a whole bunch of money to a whole lot of names and got no return on pod. All that Kim Kardashian podcast shit never happened. Meg and Harry never happened. The Obamas never happened. Spotify got a bunch that they paid top coin for and never got nothing back for. I clapped when I saw Ak off from that shit. You better than me. I ain't giving no nigga $1 million. He ain't never did nothing before. Are you crazy?
But
now the second something go wrong over there, now I'm at your doorstep. But do I want to be at the doorstep of Meek Mill over a podcast? I do not.
All right, so I'm so glad that Joe Budden mentioned all of these failed podcasts. Because, yeah, it was a point, not only Spotify was giving out money, Apple was giving out money, too, for podcasts. And a lot of these companies did not get anything in return for podcasts. And y'all remember, Joe's podcast started popping, so a lot of rappers said, you know what? I'm about to do a podcast and we gonna get it cracking. I remember Murda Mook had a podcast, the battle rapper. His shit fell off. Mano had a podcast. His shit fell off. T.I. had a podcast. Wasn't it called Expeditiously or some shit like that? That shit fell off expeditiously. And I saw that nigga trying to say ain't no money in podcasts. T.I., it's no money in podcasts when your shit is whack. So that nigga T.I. went from a weak-ass podcast to now he a weak-ass comedian, all right? So this podcasting shit was not easy, and a host of other niggas I'm forgetting to mention. That's why I feel so bad for Taxstone, because that nigga was on Joe Budden's ass. As a matter of fact, he had a bigger podcast than Joe Budden before Tax got locked up. Then when Tax got locked up, Joe Budden shit skyrocketed because it wasn't another poppin' black podcast, only Joe Budden shit. And if you remember podcasts during that time, I'm telling you nothing but facts. The number one black podcast for a while was Taxstone. Then it was Joe Budden. And I might even put Combat Jack in there. I think his shit was really popping. But it was a few other podcasts. Wine Epstein. See, I was really listening to podcasts back then. And that nigga Taxstone had Joe. But that nigga couldn't stay out of jail, right? And that's why I always feel so bad for him. But this podcasting shit is not easy. So now we look at Meek Mill, who, didn't that nigga just sell 6,000 albums? I repeat, Meek Mill only sold 6,000 albums. Even his album with Rick Ross, as much as I thought that was a quality project, that album did not do too well. That's why you see Rick Ross getting all of this money, but it's not coming from music. That nigga didn't invest it well and just did smart shit with his money. Rick ain't no money in music, and Meek Mill, he don't really have no motion to really have a poppin' podcast. Speaking of Rick Ross, I would rather listen to a Rick Ross podcast than a Meek Mill podcast, because Rick Ross is actually animated and entertaining. What is Meek Mill gonna talk about? The Philly Bulls and talk about Michael Rubin, and he gonna get some rich niggas on there to talk shit and try to educate? Nobody wanna listen to that shit, bro. I'm just keeping it real. No, nobody wanna listen to that shit. And I know it's some people be out there and they say, oh man, this is what's wrong with the youth, and y'all don't never want to listen to shit to educate themselves. If that was the case, then why Meek Mill is not rapping about, prison reform and all the good shit he doing and charity and black rights and investing in homes and being smart with your money? That's not what that nigga rapping about. That nigga rap about the streets and gangster shit and guns and popping rosé and fucking bitches, because he knows what sells. He talking about he want to do a podcast and talk about wealth and everything he learned from the billionaires. Nobody give a fuck about that, bro. Like, I hate to be the bad guy who got to tell people the truth, because nobody ever likes this guy who says, yeah, sex sells, controversy sells, beef sells, niggas who loud and entertaining sells, niggas who can cause drama sells. See, if Meek Mill was gonna really keep it Philly and keep it gully on that bitch, then niggas would listen. Cause see, even Gilly and Wallow, they do a lot of positive shit on their podcast, but them niggas is still entertaining. I don't know if Meek Mill can balance it out. So no, that would be a waste of money for Akademiks to give Meek $1 million. The only thing Ak would get out of it is saying that he's Meek Mill's boss. It'd be some ego shit. Like, nigga, I gave you $1 million. You was a bitch. And I made you sit down and do 52 episodes like a hoe. That's what Akademiks would get out of it. All right? Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. I will see y'all next time. Peace.